Hey guys, welcome to One More Push. Today I'm excited to jump into Blender and show you how to do some dynamic hair emitters. Without further ado, let's dive right in. Okay, let's start with a new Blender project. First thing we're going to do is add a subdivision surface. So let's do that now. Subdivision surface. Crank the level, viewport, and render detail up to 3. Right click shade smooth. Then what we want to do is apply our subdivision surface. Now tab into edit mode. Press 3 to jump to face mode. 7 to go to top orthographic view. And now we want to select some of these faces. And basically what we're doing is assigning where do we want our hair to grow from. So how do we do that? So I'm going to shift select and click these down here now. Okay, that looks good enough. And once that's selected, we want to create a vertex group. So we go to the object data properties, click the plus to add a group, and then click assign. Now we can rename our group to hair, and then let's double check this to make sure that the selection is maintained. So you click deselect and then select. And you can see deselect, select, our selection is maintained. So we're good to go. So now let's add some hair. So we're gonna go to the particles tab, add a particle system. We can call it hair particles. Oh, we want to tab on it, edit mode. And you can see right away a particle has been emitted. But we don't want particles, we want hairs. So there we go, there's our hairs. So to keep this simple, we're gonna change the hair length down to 1/2 meter. Okay. And let's crank the number of hairs up to 2,000. And check advanced. Let's make sure that we select hair dynamics and crank the quality steps up to 10. Okay. And cache, we can click that open. We'll come back to that in a moment. I'm going to turn on our rotation. And this is going to make the hair more interesting once we get further along. We're going to move to children. Click simple. And this is going to create, this is going to render 100 hairs for every 10 that we see in the viewport. So this is going to make the hair a little thicker. Now we can get into some of the fun stuff. I like to randomize everything because I think it makes it feel a little more realistic. Turn my clumping up a little bit, and you can see what happens when you change this value. The hair begins to kind of clump together, makes it feel more like fur. We'll say 0.25, shape we'll say 0.25. You can see with the shape it kind of starts to give it a little bit of a wave, and then here's twist, which again, all these things just help to make the hair feel a little more realistic. So we're gonna go, just keep it subtle, 0.5 or maybe less, 0.35. I like to turn on the clump noise, and you can see what we're doing here is the very tips resize depending on the size of your clump noise. So I'm going to set this to about 0.5. Move on to roughness. We're just going to make that roughness at 1.5, just crank it up a little bit. Kink, let's go with curl, and you can see the hair kind of starts to curl a little bit. And there you go. Let's go to hair shape, and we want to change the diameter root down a little bit. 1 meter for root diameter is a little bit high, so let's go 0.1, and then for the tip we'll go 0.01. And finally, we'll go to our vertex groups, click density, and select our vertex group. Cool. And just like that, with one click, we have hair. And it's assigned to this specific area as we want. So now, let's add some quick textures. So I'm going to start by adding a material. Let's use the material that's on here and go for, I'm gonna add like a peach skin tone, subdivision surface of 0.65, change the subsurface color to a more pink tone, and we can see this as we go. Great, that's a start. So now let's create a hair texture. So add one more material and go open up your shading layout. Okay, so we have our new material, and now let's add a color ramp. Connect it to our base color. And select what colors we want. I'm gonna go with pink and turquoise. Ooh. And now we're gonna add a node that will help to distribute this color ramp along the hair. So that's gonna be input geometry. So we add this geometry node and connect our color ramp to our normals. And now we have to assign this new texture, and we'll call this hair material. Now we need to assign this to the hair. So we go back to our particle system, go to render, and where it says material, select our hair material. And we can change these sliders to adjust where the color appears. And you can see it's kind of like depends on where the geometry sits in relation to the viewport. This is kind of a cool effect. So now let's add some animation. We want our sphere to rotate on the y-axis. So go to our object properties, click a keyframe on the y, move up about 20 frames. We'll set this to 90. Click our keyframe. And now we're gonna do something that's kind of fun. Now we're gonna go to the graph editor. We're gonna select our keyframes, the Y Euler rotation. Actually, I just realized this needs to be on our X, not our Y. So no problem, this happens a lot. You make mistakes, so we just go back and fix it. So remove that attribute. Let's go to 1, set a keyframe, move up to 20, set our X attribute to 90, keyframe, add a modifier, a noise modifier, and then change the scale to wherever you like it. And I try not to get too crazy, but this is your animation, so do whatever you like here. So now with our textures and our animation in place, we can go to our scene settings, change our render engine to cycles, GPU if possible, turn on motion blur, simplify, and go to color management, change your looks to high contrast, and we can go to render mode and take a look. One thing I want to do is change my background color. So you go to world properties, click your color, make it whatever color you like. Now we're good to go. Now before we render, I noticed the cycles render makes my hair look a little thinner than I want. So let's see how this looks in Eevee. That's actually more how I wanted it. Now I have to add another light, so I'll just select this one and duplicate it, bring it over here, bring one back here, maybe one up front. Yeah, I think that looks good. And so before we render this, we want to cache our hair. So you go to your hair emitter, cache, click disk cache, and then click bake. There you have it. Your frames are all cached. And our render settings are just how we want them. So we go to our output, change our resolution. I have mine set to 1080 by 1080. We can select our output. Where do we want to render to? And what do we want to name the file? And choose our format. I'm going to go with PNGs here, but you have a lot of other options. Here we have our color management, where you can override your render settings if you want, but let's just follow the scene for now. Now you can render this out and have a HeadBanger of your own. We just go up to render, render animation, or Command F12. There you have it, guys. That's how we add dynamic hair in Blender. So go ahead and make some custom characters. Like, follow, and subscribe, and feel free to tag one more push in any of the creations that you make, because I love seeing this stuff. So thank you so much for tuning in, and always give it one more push.